Admiral Jake Collins was reading a bedtime story to his daughter when the sky turned red. Maya was 8 years old. She had her mother's brown eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She loved stories about brave knights and kind dragons. That night, she had asked for her favorite tale, the one about the princess who saved her kingdom with cleverness, instead of swords. Jake never finished that story. The first explosion shook the house. Then the sirens began. Through the window, Jake saw ships descending from the clouds. They were not human ships. They carried the golden symbol of the Galaxy Council, the same council that had welcomed humanity into their Union 200 years ago. His communicator screamed with emergency signals. Voices shouted about attacks on every human world. Colony ships burning. Defense stations going dark. And something else. Something that made his blood turn to ice. They were taking the children. Jake grabbed Maya and ran. His wife, Claire, was already at the door with a pulse rifle in her hands. She had been a Marine before she was a mother. Old instincts never died. "The shelter," she said. "Go. I will hold them." "Claire, no. Protect our daughter, Jake. That is an order." She smiled at him one last time. Then she stepped outside and opened fire. Jake ran through the back garden with Maya in his arms. The little girl was crying, asking for her mother, asking what was happening. He had no answers. He only had fear and the desperate need to keep her safe. They almost made it. The enforcement soldiers appeared from nowhere. They were Valorians, tall beings with silver skin and 4 arms. Their armor was black. Their weapons made no sound when they fired. The neural blast hit Jake in the spine. He fell forward, his body frozen, his mind screaming. Maya tumbled from his arms and landed on the grass. He could not move. He could only watch. A Valorian soldier picked up his daughter like she weighed nothing. Maya screamed for her father. She reached out her small hands toward him. Her tears fell on the grass between them. "Papa! Papa! Help me!" Jake tried to speak. He tried to move. His body refused. The neural weapon had locked every muscle, every nerve. He was a prisoner in his own flesh. The soldier carried Maya toward a transport ship. Other children were already inside. Jake could hear them crying. He could hear parents screaming somewhere in the distance. He could hear pulse rifles firing and then going silent. The ship's door closed. The engines roared. And Maya was gone. Jake lay on the grass for 3 hours before the neural effects faded. When he could finally stand, he found Claire's body by the front door. She had killed 11 Valorians before they killed her. Her rifle was still warm in her hands. He buried his wife in the garden where they had been married. He did not cry. Something inside him had gone cold and hard. Tears would come later, he knew. But first, there was work to do. The reports came in over the next several days. 10,000 human children had been taken from across every colony and from Earth itself. The Galaxy Council had planned the operation for months. They had moved fast and struck everywhere at once. By the time humanity understood what was happening, it was already over. Senator Lisa Morgan stood before the Galaxy Council and demanded an explanation. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 30 years fighting for humanity's place in the galactic community. Now she faced beings who had just stolen her species, children. High Chancellor Varath sat at the center of the council chamber. He was the oldest and most powerful Valorian alive. His silver skin was marked with the patterns of 10,000 years. His 4 hands were folded calmly on his desk. "The human species presents a unique threat to galactic stability," he said. His voice was smooth and cold. "Your genetic adaptability is unprecedented. Your population growth is alarming. Your cultural aggression is concerning. The Council has determined that precautionary measures are necessary. Lisa's voice shook with rage. You took our children, our babies. You murdered parents who tried to protect them. Regrettable but necessary casualties. The children will be studied and contained. They will not be harmed, provided humanity cooperates. Cooperates with what? With our guidance. With our oversight. With our control. Voreth leaned forward. Humanity has been a member of this union for 2 centuries, yet you have never truly submitted to our wisdom. You build weapons you do not share. You explore regions we have forbidden. You breed at rates that threaten the balance of power. This ends now. You cannot do this. We already have. Voreth waved a hand. Humanity will accept the seizure of the children. You will submit to population controls. You will disarm your fleets. In return, we will allow your species to continue existing within the Union. This is generous, Senator. Many on this council wanted harsher measures. Lisa looked around the chamber. 4,000 species were represented here. Not one of them spoke in humanity's defense. Not one of them met her eyes. You will regret this, she said quietly. Voreth smiled. Your species is emotional. You will grieve. You will rage. And then you will obey. This has happened before with other troublesome members. It will happen again. The Council has maintained peace for 15,000 years, Senator. We know what we are doing. Lisa returned to Earth with nothing. Admiral J. Collins was waiting for her at the spaceport. Behind him stood 100 other officers. Their uniforms were clean. Their faces were empty. But their eyes burned with something that made Lisa stop walking. What is the Council's answer? Jake asked. They want us to submit. They say the children will be returned if we cooperate. They want us to disarm. Jake nodded slowly. I see. Admiral, what are we going to do? Jake looked up at the sky. Somewhere beyond those stars, his daughter was crying for him. Somewhere out there, 10,000 children were waiting for their parents to save them. We are going to get our children back, he said. And then we are going to teach the galaxy what happens when you touch a human child. He turned and walked away. The officers followed him in silence. Lisa watched them go and felt something shift in the world. The Council thought they knew humanity. They had read the reports. They had studied the data. They believed humans were soft, emotional, easy to control. They were about to discover how wrong they were dot in hidden shipyards across human space. Lights began to turn on. Machines that had waited for decades began to move. Weapons that had never been shared with the Union were loaded into ships painted black dot and across every human world. Parents looked at pictures of their stolen children and made the same silent promise. We are coming for you. We will never stop. And God help anyone who stands in our way. 3 weeks after the taking, the galaxy celebrated. High Chancellor Voreth stood before the Council and smiled his thin smile. Behind him, a massive screen showed maps of human space. Every colony was marked with a green symbol indicating compliance. The human problem has been contained, Voreth announced. As predicted, the emotional species has accepted our terms. Trade has resumed. Communications have normalized. The children are secure in our research facility, where they will help us understand the human threat and develop appropriate countermeasures. The Council members made sounds of approval, clicking, humming, buzzing in 100 different languages of satisfaction. The ancient Valorian wisdom had proven correct once again. Ambassador Keth Voren was the only one who did not celebrate. He was a Malori, a species of tall, thin beings with gentle faces and sad eyes. The Malori had opposed the seizure from the beginning. They had warned that humanity was different, that humans should not be treated like other troublesome species. No one had listened. Voren watched the celebration and felt cold fear in his chest. The humans had gone quiet. Too quiet. Their communications were polite and empty. Their trade ships arrived on schedule with no complaints. Their government sent formal messages of cooperation. It was wrong. All of it was wrong. The Mallory had a saying, "Beware the silence before the thunder." Voron believed thunder was coming far across the galaxy, deep inside human space. The thunder was being built. Dr. Grace Palmer stood in a shipyard that did not exist on any official record. It was carved into an asteroid in a system with no name. For 40 years, humanity had been building here in secret ships, weapons, technology that the Galaxy Council had never seen. Project Prometheus. The name came from an old human myth about a being who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. Grace had always loved that story. Now she was living it. Admiral Jake Collins walked beside her, studying the ships that filled the massive cavern. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Long, black, angular. Built for one purpose, only. War, double quotes, how many? Jake asked. 500 Fury-class warships ready to launch. 200 more in final construction. Each one carries weapons designed to cut through Valorian shields like they are made of paper. How? Grace smiled. It was not a kind smile. We have been studying them for 200 years, Admiral. Every trade agreement, every diplomatic meeting, every shared technology session. We learned their strengths. We found their weaknesses. They never thought to hide anything from us. They thought we were too primitive to understand. Jake touched the hull of the nearest ship. The metal was cold under his fingers. They underestimated us. Everyone underestimates humans. That is our greatest advantage. In another part of the asteroid, Captain Ryan Cooper was training his soldiers. They called themselves the Reapers. They were the best fighters humanity had ever produced. Each one had volunteered for the mission. Each one had a personal reason to hate the Council. Ryan's reason was written on his heart in letters of fire. His twin sons, Ben and Lucas, had been taken from their school while Ryan was on patrol. His wife had tried to stop the soldiers. They had killed her without hesitation. Now Ryan spent every waking hour preparing. His soldiers practiced in gravity chambers and zero-atmosphere modules. They learned Valorian combat techniques. They memorized the layout of every known Council facility. When the time came, they would be ready. Admiral Collins gathered his commanders in a room with no windows. Their faces were hard and tired. None of them had slept much in 3 weeks. None of them would sleep well until the mission was complete. Intelligence has confirmed the location, Jake said. Our children are being held on a moon called Seraph Prime in the Valorian home system. The facility is underground. Heavy guard presence, but not heavy enough. Commander Ben Harris leaned forward. He was captain of the Resolute, the flagship of the human fleet. What is our approach? We move in 3 days. The fleet will take an indirect route through uncharted space. We mapped these paths decades ago and never told the Council they existed. They will not see us coming until we are already there. And when we arrive, Jake's eyes were cold and steady. We break everything that stands between us and our children. Then we bring them home. The commanders nodded. There was no debate, no discussion of alternatives. Every person in that room had lost something to the Council's cruelty. A child, a spouse, a future. They would get it all back or die trying. Across the galaxy, the Council continued to celebrate. Merchants and diplomats visited human space and reported nothing unusual. The humans smiled at them, traded with them, said all the right words, but some noticed strange things. Ships that traveled to systems with no colonies. Communications that cut off at odd moments. A feeling in the air like pressure before a storm. High Chancellor Varth received these reports and dismissed them. Humans are simple creatures. he told his advisors. They feel deeply but think slowly. They will process their grief and then accept reality. Give them time. One advisor, a young Valorian named Tess, asked a question that would haunt her later. Chancellor, what if we are wrong about them? What if they are not as simple as we believe? Vorth laughed. My child, we have studied 1,000,000 species across 15,000 years. We know how civilizations respond to pressure. Humans are unusual, yes, but they are not unique. They will bend like all the others. Tess said nothing more. But she did not stop worrying. In the hidden shipyard, 500 black warships powered up their engines for the first time. The sound was like distant thunder rolling through mountains. Crews took their positions. Weapon systems came online. Navigation coordinates were locked in. Admiral Collins stood on the bridge of the Resolute and looked at the fleet on his screen. 200 years of hidden work. 40 years of careful planning. 3 weeks of cold, patient rage. It was time. He opened a channel to every ship. His voice was calm and steady as he spoke. 3 weeks ago, they took our children. They killed our families. They told us to accept it. They said we would grieve and then obey. They thought they knew us. He paused. The silence stretched across 500 ships. They were wrong. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And we never, ever abandon our children. Today, we teach the galaxy what humanity truly is. Today, we bring our children home. And tomorrow, the Council will learn that some prices are too high to pay. The fleet began to move. One by one, the black ships slid out of the asteroid and into the darkness of space. The running lights were off. Their weapons were hot. Their crews were ready. The Galaxy Council had kept peace for 15,000 years by crushing any species that challenged them. They had never failed. They believed they never could fail, that they had never faced humanity, and humanity was coming for its children. The human fleet moved like ghosts through the darkness between stars. Admiral J. Collins had spent 20 years mapping routes that the Galaxy Council did not know existed. Hidden paths through dead systems. Shortcuts through nebulas that were listed as impassable. Secret ways that humanity had kept for a day like this. The Council sensors saw nothing. Their patrols found nothing. For 2 weeks, 500 warships traveled through their territory without triggering a single alarm. Then the Meridian Nebula came, and the hiding ended. The Valorian Defense Fleet was waiting at the edge of Council space. 2,000 ships carrying the most advanced weapons in the known galaxy. Their commander was Admiral Vos Tarek, a veteran of 100 campaigns. He had crushed rebellions on a dozen worlds. He had never lost a battle. When his sensors finally detected the human fleet, he felt confusion more than fear. The ships were unfamiliar. Their design was strange. Their energy signatures were unlike anything in his database. He opened a communication channel. Human vessels. This is Admiral Tarek of the Galactic Defense Fleet. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Stand down immediately and prepare for boarding. Silence. Tarek tried again. Human vessels. You are outnumbered 4-1. You cannot win this fight. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated fairly. The silence continued for a long moment. Then a voice came through the channel. It was calm and cold and carried the weight of 3 weeks of grief. Admiral Tarek. This is Admiral Jake Collins of the United Human Navy. You are holding our children on Sereth Prime. We are going to get them back. You can move aside, or you can die where you stand. Those are your only options. Tarek felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. Real, cold fear. Not because of the words, but because of the voice. There was no rage in it. No emotion at all. Just certainty. Your threats are meaningless. Tarek said. You are 500 ships against 2,000. The mathematics favor us. The mathematics, Collins replied, are about to change. The Resolute fired first. The weapon was something the galaxy had never seen. A focused beam of energy that existed in 3 dimensions simultaneously. It hit Tarek's lead battleship and passed through its shields like they were made of air. The ship did not explode. It simply stopped existing. For a moment, every being in both fleets stared in disbelief. Then the human fleet opened fire. The battle lasted 6 hours. Later historians would call it the breaking of peace, the moment when 15,000 years of galactic order ended. At the time, it felt more like a slaughter. Human weapons tore through Valorian shields as if they were not there. Human ships moved with speed and precision that the Council fleet could not match. Human crews fought with a cold fury that no Valorian had ever encountered. Admiral Tarek tried everything. He sent his fastest ships to flank the humans. They were destroyed in minutes. He ordered concentrated fire on the human flagship. The Resolute absorbed every shot and kept coming. He attempted to retreat and regroup. The humans followed and gave no quarter dot by the 4th hour. Tarek knew he was going to die. By the 5th hour, he had accepted it. By the 6th hour, his ship was burning around him, and he finally understood what the Council had done. They had not captured the children of a weak species. They had awakened something terrible. Tark single quotes S/ transmission reached the Council chamber as his ship broke apart. Tell the Chancellor, he said, that we were wrong about everything. Then there was silence. News of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. Every species heard the same impossible story. 2,000 Council warships destroyed. Human losses, 12 vessels. The greatest military defeat in galactic history. High Chancellor Varath received the report in his private chambers. His 4 hands trembled as he read the numbers. His silver skin went pale. This cannot be correct, he whispered. Our ships are the finest in the galaxy. Our weapons are unmatched. This cannot be correct. But it was correct. And it was only the beginning. The human fleet did not stop at the Meridian Nebula. It continued toward the Valorian home system, destroying every defense station and patrol ship in its path. Other Council species began withdrawing their forces, refusing to fight an enemy that could not be beaten. Ambassador Keth Vorn watched the chaos from his cell. He had been arrested the day before the battle for speaking against the child seizure. Now guards came to his door with fear in their eyes. The Council wants you released, one guard said. They want you to negotiate with the humans. Vorn laughed bitterly. Now they want to negotiate? After they stole human children and called it wisdom? After they ignored every warning? Please, Ambassador. You are the only one who spoke for humanity. Maybe they will listen to you. Vorn stood and walked to the window. In the distance, he could see ships launching from the defense platforms. Panicked, disorganized, useless. They will not listen, he said. And I do not blame them. In the human fleet, Captain Ryan Cooper made final preparations with his Reapers. They had studied the facility on Sereth Prime. They knew every corridor, every guard post, every possible obstacle. When the fleet arrived, they would be the first ones through the door. Cooper gathered his team in the briefing room of their assault ship. 20 soldiers looked back at him with steady eyes. Each one had memorized the faces of every child they were going to rescue. Each one carried a picture of someone they had lost. The fleet will engage the orbital defenses, Cooper said. We dropped during the chaos. The facility is underground, but we have the entrance points. We go in fast, we find the children, and we bring them home. Nothing else matters. Not the guards. Not the facility. Not our own lives. The children come first. One soldier, a young woman named Kelly Nash, raised her hand. "Captain, what if the Valorians try to use the children as shields?" Cooper's face went hard. "Then we remind them that there is no shield strong enough to protect them from us." The fleet entered the Valorian home system on a morning that would be remembered for 10,000 years. The sun of Valoria Prime was rising over the planet when 500 black ships appeared on the sensors. The Valorians had gathered everything they had left. 800 ships surrounded their homeworld. Ground batteries were powered up. Shield generators were running at maximum. They had 3 days to prepare, and they had used every second. It was not enough. Admiral Collins looked at the Valorian defenses and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction. Just the cold certainty that had lived in his chest since the night they took Maya. "All ships," he said, "begin the assault. And send a message to the surface. Tell High Chancellor Vorath that humanity has arrived. Tell him we want our children back. Tell him what happens next is his choice." The message was sent. The attack began. And across the galaxy, every species watched in silence as 15,000 years of peace burned to ash. The age of the Council was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin. The Valorian home system burned. Admiral Jake Collins watched the battle from the bridge of the Resolute. 800 Council ships had tried to stop the human fleet. Now less than 200 remained, scattered and fleeing in every direction. But Collins was not watching the battle. He was watching a small moon on the edge of his display screen. Seraph Prime, somewhere beneath its gray surface, his daughter was waiting. "Admiral," Commander Ben Harris said, "we have a transmission from the surface. It is High Chancellor Vorath. Put him through." The screen flickered, and Vorath's face appeared. He looked old, tired, afraid. His 4 hands were pressed together in a gesture that might have been pleading. "Admiral Collins," he said, "I am prepared to negotiate. The children will be returned immediately. All of them, unharmed. We ask only that you spare our homeworld." Collins stared at the screen for a long moment. He thought about Claire dying in their garden. He thought about Maya screaming for him as they carried her away. He thought about 10,000 children torn from their families. "You will return our children," he said. "That is not a negotiation. That is a fact." Yes, of course. They are already being prepared for transport. I will personally guarantee their safety. What happens after, Collins continued, depends on whether they are harmed. If even one child has been hurt, I will reduce your planet to glass. Do you understand? Vorath's silver skin went pale. I understand. Then we have nothing more to discuss. The transmission ended. Collins turned to Harris. Signal Captain Cooper. The Reapers drop in 10 minutes. I want our children in our hands, not Valorian promises. On the assault ship hovering above Seraph Prime, Captain Ryan Cooper stood before his team. They were already in their combat suits, weapons loaded, faces hard. This was the moment they had trained for, the moment they had lived for. The Chancellor says he will return the children, Cooper said. We are not going to wait for him to change his mind. We go in, we secure the facility. We bring every child out ourselves. Trust nothing. Take nothing for granted. Move fast and stay together. The drop was violent and quick. The assault ship punched through the thin atmosphere and landed less than 100 meters from the facility entrance. Cooper was the first one out the door, his rifle up and ready. The guards at the entrance looked young and scared. They dropped their weapons before Cooper could fire a single shot. Where are the children? He demanded. Level 3, one guard stammered. The holding area. Please, we were just following orders. Cooper pushed past him without a word. His team moved through the corridors like shadows, checking every corner, securing every door. The Valorians they encountered did not fight. Most of them simply stepped aside, their four-armed bodies pressed against the walls, their eyes wide with terror. They had heard what happened to the fleet. They knew resistance was death. The holding area was on level 3, just as the guard said. Cooper reached the door and paused. Beyond that door were 10,000 children. Beyond that door was everything he had been fighting for. He opened the door. The room was large and filled with small beds. Children sat on those beds, some crying, some silent, all of them looking toward the door with fear and hope in their eyes. For a moment, Cooper could not move. He saw human children everywhere. Boys and girls, some as young as 3, some as old as 12. They were thin and tired, but they were alive. They were all alive. "Hey," he said softly. "My name is Captain Cooper. I am here to take you home." A small girl in the front row started to cry. "Are our parents coming? They are waiting for you. Every single one of them. We are going to bring you to them right now." Behind him, a voice spoke. "The children have been well cared for." Cooper spun around, his rifle raised. A Valorian woman stood in a side doorway. She was wearing a scientist's coat, and her hands were raised in surrender. "I am Dr. Nara Veth," she said. "I have been responsible for the children since they arrived. I did not agree with the seizure. I tried to make their time here as comfortable as possible. Why should I believe you?" Dr. Veth stepped forward slowly. Her forearms spread wide in a gesture of openness. "Because I can help you. I know this facility. I know the fastest way to get the children to the surface. And because what the council did was wrong. I knew it was wrong from the beginning." Cooper studied her face. He saw guilt there, and shame, and something that might have been genuine care. "If you are lying," he said, "I will kill you personally." "I am not lying. Please, let me help make this right." With Dr. Veth's guidance, the evacuation took less than an hour. The children were moved to transport ships in groups, their faces pressed to windows as they rose toward the human fleet. Medical teams waited on every ship, ready to check for injuries and provide comfort. Admiral Collins watched from the Resolute as the first transport docked. He had planned to stay on the bridge. He had planned to maintain command presence. But when the docking bay doors opened and the children began to emerge, he could not stay away. He ran through the corridors of his own ship like a young officer. He pushed through crowds of crew members who were cheering and crying. He reached the docking bay just as a small girl with brown eyes stepped off the transport. Maya saw him at the same moment. Her face changed from confusion to recognition to joy in less than a second. "Papa." She ran to him, and he caught her in his arms. He held her so tight that she laughed and complained that he was squeezing too hard. He did not let go. He could not let go. "I knew you would come," Maya whispered into his shoulder. "I told the other kids. I told them our parents would come for us." Jake Collins, Admiral of the United Human Navy, commander of the fleet that had shattered 15,000 years of peace, broke down and wept. He wept for his wife, for his daughter, for every parent and child who had been torn apart. He wept for the war that was not yet over and the future that was not yet written. Around him, similar scenes played out across every transport. Parents who had traveled across the galaxy to find their children. Children who had never stopped believing they would be saved. Families broken and now restored. On Valoria Prime, the riots began before the last transport left Seraph Prime. Citizens poured into the streets, demanding answers, demanding accountability. The council that had ruled for 15,000 years crumbled in a single night. Chancellor Vorath was arrested by his own guards. He was dragged from his chambers and thrown into the same cells where Ambassador Voran had been held. No one came to defend him. No one spoke in his favor. The age of the council was truly over. Admiral Collins received a transmission from the Valorian Provisional Government. They offered unconditional surrender. They offered Vorath for trial. They offered anything humanity wanted. Collins looked at Maya sleeping in the chair beside him. She had refused to leave his side since the rescue. She had held his hand through every meeting, every report, every difficult decision. "Tell them we accept their surrender," he said. "Tell them we are taking Vorath for trial on Earth, and tell them that this is not over. We came for our children. We got them back. But the galaxy needs to know that this can never happen again." He paused and looked at his daughter's peaceful face. "Humanity does not forget, and we do not forgive easily. The Council should have remembered that before they touched our children." 6 months had passed since the children came home. Admiral Jake Collins stood at the window of his office on Earth, watching the sun set over the memorial garden. 10,000 names were carved into the black stone walls below. The children who had been taken, the parents who had died protecting them, the soldiers who had given their lives to bring them back. Maya was playing in the garden with other children from her neighborhood. She laughed as she chased her friends around the fountain. She had nightmares sometimes, and she still flinched at loud noises. But she was healing. They were all healing, Admiral. Collins turned. Senator Lisa Morgan stood in the doorway, a tablet in her hands. "The trial is over," she said. "The verdict came in an hour ago. And? Guilty on all charges. High Chancellor Vorath has been sentenced to life imprisonment. No possibility of release. He will spend his remaining centuries in a cell on Earth, watching the species he tried to control build something better." Collins nodded slowly. Some had wanted Vorath executed. Many had demanded blood for blood. But humanity had chosen a different path. Justice, not revenge. Punishment, not destruction. It was, Collins believed, the right choice. The choice that proved humanity was more than just rage and violence. The choice that proved they were worthy of leading the galaxy forward. "What about the new assembly?" he asked. Lisa smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen on her face in months. "The votes are in. The Galactic Assembly has been formally established. 2,000 species have signed the founding charter. Humanity has been elected to the Leadership Council by an overwhelming majority, because they fear us, because they respect us. There is a difference, Jake. We could have burned the Valorian homeworld to ash. We could have hunted down every species that supported the seizure. Instead, we took our children back, demanded justice, and offered to help build something better. The galaxy has never seen a species like us." Collins thought about that for a moment. He thought about the centuries of hiding, the decades of secret preparation, the weeks of Cold War. He thought about Claire dying in their garden and Maya crying for him in the transport ship. And he thought about what came next. "It was never about conquering," he said quietly. "It was always about protecting. Our children, our families, our future. Everything else is just noise." Lisa nodded. "The assembly meets tomorrow. They want you to give the opening address." "Me? I am a military officer, not a politician. You are the man who saved 10,000 children and then offered peace instead of vengeance. That makes you exactly the right person to speak." Collins looked back at the garden. Maya had stopped playing and was looking up at his window. She waved at him with a bright smile. He waved back. "Fine," he said. "I will speak. But I am not making any promises about being diplomatic." The next day, the Galactic Assembly gathered for the first time. Representatives from 2,000 species filled a massive chamber built on neutral ground. Humans and Valorians sat in the same room. Mallory and Tariq shared the same tables. Former enemies and former friends, all looking for a new way forward. Admiral Collins stood at the central podium. His uniform was simple. His face was calm. Behind him, a holographic display showed the symbol of the new assembly, a circle of stars surrounding a single flame. I am not a speaker, he began. I am a soldier. I have spent my life learning how to fight, how to protect, how to win. I never expected to stand here and talk about peace. He paused and looked around the room. Thousands of alien eyes looked back at him. Some were afraid. Some were curious. Some were hopeful. 6 months ago, the old council took our children. They thought they knew us. They thought we were weak and emotional and easy to control. They were wrong. We crossed the galaxy to get our children back. We destroyed the greatest fleet ever assembled. We brought down a government that had lasted 15,000 years. And when it was over, when we had won completely, we did not seek revenge. His voice grew stronger. We did not burn worlds. We did not enslave populations. We did not become the monsters they feared we were. Instead, we offered to help build something better. A new assembly where every species has a voice. A new order based on equality, not fear. A new future where no one has the power to steal children from their beds. He leaned forward, his eyes hard and bright. But I want to be clear about something. We are peaceful because we choose to be. We are merciful because we believe in mercy. We are building this assembly because we want a better galaxy for everyone. But our kindness should not be mistaken for weakness. Our mercy should not be mistaken for forgetting. The chamber was silent. Not a single being moved. We will work with you. We will trade with you. We will protect you if you need protection. But if any species ever touches a human child again, if any government ever tries what the old council tried, we will come for you. Not in months, not in weeks, in days. And there will be no negotiation. There will be no surrender. There will only be the lesson that humanity teaches those who harm our children. He stepped back from the podium. We do not want war. We do not seek power. We only wanted our children back. Remember that when you think of humanity. We will burn the stars for our children. And we will build paradise for anyone willing to stand beside us in peace. The applause began slowly. A few species at first, then more, then nearly everyone. The sound filled the chamber like thunder. Representatives who had feared humanity moments ago were on their feet, recognizing something they had never seen before. A species that was terrifying in war and generous in victory. A species that could destroy and choose not to. A species worthy of leading the galaxy into a new age. Ambassador Kethvorin approached Collins after the speech. The Mallory's sad eyes were wet with tears. That was remarkable, Admiral. You have given the galaxy hope. Hope is a start, Collins replied. Now we have to do the hard work of building something that lasts. We will help. The Mallory have always believed in peace. We will stand beside humanity for as long as you will have us. Collins extended his hand. Vorin took it with 3 of his own. The first alliance of the new era was born in that simple gesture. That evening, Collins returned to Earth. He found Maya waiting for him in the memorial garden. She was looking up at the stars, her small face serious and thoughtful. "Papa," she said, "will they ever take children again?" He knelt beside her and put his arm around her shoulders. "No, sweetheart. Never again. How do you know?" He looked up at the stars with her. Somewhere out there, the black ships of the human fleet were watching, protecting, waiting. Because the galaxy knows what we will do if they try. And because we are going to build a future where no one even wants to try. A future where every child is safe. Every family is protected. Every species is equal. Maya leaned against him. "That sounds good. It will be. I promise." They sat together in the garden as the stars came out, one by one. Father and daughter. Soldier and child. Humanity and hope. The old order was gone. The new one was just beginning. And across the galaxy. For the first time in 15,000 years, children slept peacefully in their beds. protected by a species that would never stop fighting for them. Humanity had come home, and they had brought the future with them.